Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hey, now what's up? If you don't know me, my name is Devon Morris. I am your resident expert here, working to help you out with some things, right? No, today is going to be an interesting day. If you haven't been around before, on this show, we answer questions about Scrum, Agile, entrepreneurship, but the show is going to be changing because we're going to be talking a lot more about team effectiveness, especially since that is what I'm getting my little PhD thing in, right? So, hey, I see Andrea there. Andrea, hey, how you doing? Welcome. As obvious, if you're here, just go ahead and say hi, give a shout out. I will state to you though clearly, I'm not going to be checking a lot of comments on LinkedIn. I just decided to open it up real quick. I just put it out there, but I'm going to be interacting with folks on YouTube. So I threw this out there today. So I'm not expecting a whole lot of people to be here, but I know a few people had some questions, so we'll see if they show up because they really sent me some messages in different places, and I provide them link and say, "Hey, got a show tonight. Come join us and we will talk about it. We will jump into it." Uh, Today's show is going to be all about AI and team effectiveness. That's what it's going to be about. Talk about the top benefits of AI and team effectiveness. That's going to be our focus today. And I'm actually excited. I'm really excited, right? These are topics that that really are capturing my attention at this particular point in time. It's probably two of my favorite things, right? So all of the elements that go along with team effectiveness, and then putting AI into that, especially with a lot of the stuff that I'm uncovering and doing, that I think you all will benefit from over time. It's such an amazing thing to me, the world that we live in and some of the things I'm getting to experience. And boy, I'm telling you, my brain just goes. It just be going, right? So once again, as I will say continuously, just like, subscribe, those kind of things. I don't usually say that, but I need to say it more. I'm probably going to, as I get closer to this PhD thing, I'll probably start to try to grow the channel at that point. But outside of that, our topic is really going to be on AI and team effectiveness. So I'll talk about that for 15 to 20 minutes, maybe, and then we'll open up the floor for any questions that you may have. Now, what's going on this week? I got a CSM class, a couple weeks ago, did CSP, SM, ACSM, those kind of things. CSPO last week was bonkers, right? That was bonkers. I had a whole lot of fun in the CSPO, and I'm having a lot of really good fun in the CSM this week. I have good fun in every class. It's unfair to say I don't have any fun in classes because I just be enjoying myself for the sake of enjoying myself, and I ain't got no reason to be. But I just do. It's just ridiculous. I just do. I really, really do enjoy myself a whole lot. But what else is going on? In terms of me, it's just heavy dissertation, y'all. Realistically, I've been putting 40 plus in every single week on that dissertation. It's paid off at this point. If you don't know now, I mean, I'm in school to get a PhD in industrial organizational psychology with a specialization in evidence-based coaching. Um, and my dissertation is focused on the interplay of team coaching, team resilience, learning agility, and team effectiveness, right? So really, there's a huge focus on team effectiveness, especially adaptive performance within that, from a team perspective in particular, because there's not a lot of studies out there. So it's definitely what I'm moving toward becoming more of an expert in. But the idea is that I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've gotten chapter one, two, and three in for actual. Yeah, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, right? Let me tell you something, right? So I reach out to my chair, right? So I got my proposal in. That's the first three chapters, right? So chapter one, two, and three, right? I got them in, right? It's probably about 77 pages, about 223 references, right? So it's ridiculous, right? It's bonkers, right? Um, and so, I get it all turned in probably Friday morning, right? Friday, Thursday night, right? After I read it, we got all those tense and stuff, right? And man, I sit in my chair. I sit in my chair, a message saying, "Hey, what should I work on while I'm waiting for feedback?" Because they got 2 weeks to give you feedback, right? So what should I work on while you're giving feedback? My man said to me, he said, patience. And I just shut my mouth up because I have been impatient. I know I'm getting on his nerves a tad bit, right? But I've been quite impatient, right? Because I'm blazing, I'm kind of running through stuff. I'm trying to really, really hit it and hit it hard, right? But I mean, when I say to you, literally, he said patience, man. It made me shut up. I mean, it literally, like, when I say to you, I had to go to bed, man, in the middle of the daytime, like legitimately, because I've never been like anybody's. It's been a long time. Like I've been a kid since somebody said that to me. Like, but I'm always on point, going after things. I can't even help it. But he legitimately said patience, like for real. I'm like, that is crazy. That is crazy. Now, some of y'all out there, I see a couple of y'all. Some of y'all out there, right? You got the same problem. You really do, right? So that gave me probably my biggest chuckle over the weekend, and I really just shut it down and did other things. I'm actually completing a course on mastering influence and persuasion. So I got to dive heavy into that. That'll be something coming way, way, way in the future, right? Not way, 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 by the end of the year. Um, but today we are really going to have the conversation really around, and I don't have any titles on this, no slides, so we're just going to talk based on a couple bullets that I have that I've written down, and we'll talk through. But we're really going to go ahead and dive into this AI team effectiveness and the actual, I want to say learning agility, but that's not what we're talking about. The team effectiveness and the AI stuff. So let's jump into that. So if I was to just kind of move toward a place, if there was something that I'm really, really truly interested in, is the benefits that artificial intelligence will have on team effectiveness, especially as a lot of these models and beyond the models, beyond the different companies itself, are moving toward through more reasoning, right? Because it's one thing for you to teach AI something and it gives out an answer that you expect it to give out. It's another thing for it to reason and come up with an answer itself. And models are working toward that and working on that. And as they move closer and closer to that, um, there are some ways that those things could have a huge benefit on teams. But I think there's ways that it can have, at least AI can have huge benefits on teams right now. Because when you really look at AI, if there was a truth I could give you, it would be that AI can really supercharge a team. That's what I really think at this point. I'm not talking about where you kind of cheat in life. I mean, AI can write code, can do all kinds of things, right? But if we move beyond the buzzwords, if we move beyond corporations and how they just have a bunch of fluff that's happening, if we get real about what AI does for teams today, um, you know, it's not just about synergy or streamlining. Um, I really think that teams that can embrace AI today, they can gain, a unfair advantage. I mean, for real. And so I think the teams that sit in the majority of corporate America, um, I don't think teams like that will take advantage of AI in a way that I'm thinking about. They won't do that for many years. But if you jump on some of the things that I'm going to talk about here, at least some of the top benefits that I think could be helpful, and I'll mention the top benefits, and then maybe we can talk about an example of each one because I think that would be important. So as I think about the top of my list, there is a place where there is I think it can have a huge impact or basically kill the quote, I think culture. Um, I think that teams have amazing opinions. I think teams are a group of people, a team, especially makes better decisions than a group of individuals than people by themselves. So I agree with that. Um, but sometimes teams are wrong, right? Sometimes they're wrong. And a place where AI can actually help is replacing that gut feel and the biased guesswork by providing cold, hard data. I think cold, hard data is the thing that AI can bring to the table that can help teams and force them to make decisions based on a current reality instead of them being emotionally connected to something. Or another problem that I see is the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room on a meeting can be wrong. Sometimes, that can be the lead that's wrong. And, when you have those loudest voices, and you don't have the cold, hard data, I think it could have an impact. So I would say that the first thing on my mind is that I think culture, right? The second thing on my mind is something really interesting, right? Um, I think that every team has a weakest link, and I think AI can actually expose that. Um, or the other side of that is beyond the weakest link, find what the team's superpowers is, right? The thing about it is that with AI, there is no feelings, there is no favorites. It will show you exactly who isn't pulling their weight. I think that can be done, right? Or you got a person who is really shining and is being undervalued, underutilized at that, right? So I think it could help spotlight the talent from the dead weight. Okay. So I think that is something, right? Um, Other things, right? The work, like how we have many of us are familiar with death marches. And death marches are not cool at all. So if you don't know what a death march is, I definitely would say look it up. But classically, if I was to define a death march for you, it would be the locking the triple constraint in unrealistic ways. Um, and if you've ever been on a death march, you know there's a dreadful feeling with that. And so when I think about eradicating work like that, I think, if I be honest with myself, I think that a lot of the work that a team does is useless and repetitive. A great example of that is a team that's setting up an environment, right? I remember seeing teams move toward cloud environments, but a year and a half ago, I had a team where it took probably six, seven, it took almost 2 weeks for the person to have all the things that they needed on in their dev environment, right? And it just wasted time completely, right? So if AI can automate some of that administrative nightmare, it really would free up our people, the people that's on the team, um, so they can pay more attention to exploratory things, right? Innovative things, right? Things where they can use their creativity. Um, I think those parts of their brain would allow teams to win more, right? So I think that's good. Number four, I think meetings. You know, a lot of us have teams that really complain, and rightfully so, about meetings that could have been talked about in the email, um, calls, losing action items, progress, people outside the team complaining about progress. I think yeah, it has the power to it can decline meetings and point to the dashboard. But this is definitely what I want to talk through an example of. So let's come back to that. So it ends the meeting nightmare, I do believe, right? Another thing is that AI can predict problems before they become catastrophes, before they become a problem. Budget overruns, another thing, project delays, resource conflicts, various constraints that are coming in advance. And we're used to having humans do that. And I think this is something that a tool can see, AI can see. Um, the patterns of that much sooner, right? So we get ourselves out of apologizing for not getting something right or doing something wrong, right? So I think it can help with that, and that's almost like it being psychic to some degree. Um, the next thing on my list, and again, if you agree with some of these things, please drop a comment. Let me know that I'm on the right path. Let me know what I'm missing, right? Let me know what I'm missing. Um, and then if there was one thing, I think if there was one thing that's at the last item on my list, it's burnout. Um, Especially burnout of your best people, right? It's one of those things where here's my experience, and I'm talking about me being a really great developer at times, right? What I find is when you are some of the best, you're a top performer, they put more work on you. They just really do. And they put more work on you until you get to a place where you're going to break and you ultimately may have an issue. So I really do believe that AI can help with distributing the workload in an intelligent way, in a way that really works well. Especially when you look at how hard some items is, because different types of work take different mental cycles, different capacity from your brain, right? Finding ways to actually really spread work out based on capacity, not just based on trust. I think that is just one of those things. So now that right there is my list of items. I do want to, drop some examples, at least how I'm thinking, and you tell me if I'm crazy. And I'll try to focus on examples from our world versus anything else, right? So let's go back to the original one. It kills the I think culture, right? Let me talk about some of our favorite folks here, the product owner. So let's just say I got a product owner who is convinced that a social sharing feature, it doesn't matter what the feature is, right? Is the most critical user story for the next sprint because they have a good feeling about it, just a simple good feeling about it. Um, Instead of just taking a word, you can use AI to analyze customer feedback on tickets, um, testimonials. You can go look at reviews that associated with wherever your application is. Look at the release schedule or features that an existing competitor has. AI can do that research for you. AI can report that stories related to search performance are mentioned 10 times more frequently than the social one, right? It can say it's 10 times less than the social features. The data um, will tell your product owner, or at least let us know if this pet feature can wait. Or is it something that really needs to be prioritized higher? Which allows us to not waste time. Does that make sense? And again, it doesn't matter which way it goes, but the data can actually help position that story when you get more information about it. When it comes to exposing the weakest link, or finding that superpower, the superpower amongst the team, um, even though I have my issues with velocity, right? But let's think about a retrospective. So let's just say during a retrospective, everybody is really blaming a drop in velocity, right? On just unexpected situations that they found as they was diving into the work, right? And most of us who aren't the developers, we don't know how to do that work anyway, so we have to trust them, right? It just becomes really a convenient way to pass blame, and it just really becomes like this, we don't want any blame type of excuse, right? But when you integrate AI with Jira, with your Azure DevOps, and it analyzes commit history, for example, and workflow data, right? It probably, let's just say it reveals that one developer consistently underestimated their story points by 50%. Um, and their code had the highest rate of being reopened due to bugs, right? That's definitely pointing toward a weaker link, right? And that's something that we probably aren't going to notice on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying to fire anybody. I'm not saying we're trying to get rid of anybody. I'm not saying we're trying to micromanage anybody. For me, this is an opportunity for improvement. And then you got a quiet junior developer that's been picking up their slack, closing small but critical tech debt stories that weren't even pointed. And they've been working on improving the system stability, right? AI can show who needs coaching, especially on estimation, and can show you probably who the real team player is, can help you find ways to distribute that work even better and show how things progress along the way. See, it's hard for us to know how to look into that stuff when you're not a person that can jump into code, or you're not around them daily to see what their work is. So we can help to make the team better in both situations, right? Help the person that isn't doing so well, and then help the people that are doing well to spread out that work a little bit more. So then, what about that repetitive kind of soul crushing work, right? What about that, right? Let's just say your product owner, business analyst, whoever you want to pick that writes user stories, right? Let's just say your product owner is spending hours writing and rewriting user stories along with the acceptance criteria, because we have to have acceptance criteria, right, y'all? I mean, seriously, today's world, do we write stories without acceptance criteria? I hope not. I hope not, right? Um, but the reason why that PO is writing stories and rewriting stories is because they're a perfectionist. They're trying to get the format perfect, right? But let's just say this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It becomes a bottleneck that actually slows down the entire team. Okay. So now it's a problem because they're not doing this work. They're not doing this by themselves, and they're in this hell by themselves, right? So you get an AI assistant. The PO provides that high level story, epic feature, right? Something like We got users that should be able to reset their passwords, something really very simple, right? The AI, right, could generate three, four, five, whatever number, right, of well-formed user stories that talk about logged in user, a logged out user, and a forgotten password, right? And here's the deal. Here's the amazing thing, right? Because this I don't like very much. And let's just say it was able to get those three stories and complete them with Gherkin style or given when then scenario based acceptance criteria. Now you know, like y'all know that Gherkin scenario based acceptance criteria is cool. But it's time consuming, man. It really is. But let's just say it was able to do that. Now, I'm always of the mindset that, 80, AI can give me an 80% lift. I'm not saying not to check these things. I'm not saying it's going to be completely right, but if it's able to do 50% of it, that work, it kind of is interesting because the PO really goes from being in story writing hell, right, to looking at the feature in a different way, at the user story in a different way. And they're spending time now validating the concept instead of wrestling with the actual syntax itself. Because before, what they were trying to do was get the format right, right? And there's no point. I mean, there's a point in it, right? But there's a place where it's just like perfection is just not okay. All right, so let's move on past that one. Ending meetings, like ending meetings, right? The meeting nightmare, the hell of meetings, right? Let's just say we have an issue today where the 15-minute daily scrum, like 75% of y'all are doing those 15-minute daily scrums and status reports, right? I think this right here could be amazing, right? Um, but that status report is a waste of time. People are basically mumbling what happened yesterday, what is going to happen today, and if there's any impediments. And realistically, sometimes pull up the Jira board, the Azure DevOps board, and they are really updating inside of the tools as people are talking. It's a waste of time. The Scrum guy says today that the Scrum Master, the product owner shouldn't be there. It should be about the synchronization of the developers. But let's put that to the side for a second, right? Now, what if AI, some type of assistant, was able to do a few things? Now, think about this right for a second. It was able to scan the work that people completed, it was able to look at code commits um, and comments from the last 24 hours. Like, think about that for a second. This is before the stand up would start, right? And then it flags the top three blockers, the top three impediments, and then it along with dependencies, because some of y'all still got dependencies, right? Um, and sends it to everybody. Sends it to everybody in Teams, in a Slack channel, whatever it's going to be. And it says, like, look, warning, we got a front end task that's blocked by somebody's API, which is 2 days behind schedule. Like, if it just provided that kind of information, just like in a Slack, Teams channel, something like that, right? Wouldn't that eliminate like the stand up being a reporting meeting? Like, for real. And then what you can actually do is really uninvite people at that point because now the only thing left to talk about is the actual problems that the developers are having with synchronization, which would probably just take them 5 minutes, like legitimately. Okay. I mean, y'all don't think, am I dreaming here? Is this something that can happen? Tell me, y'all. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. Right. And most of y'all, come on now, let's be real. You know just as well as I do, like your daily stand up is a status meeting. Like the fact that you showed up is probably the reason why it's a status meeting. I'm just saying, I'm not hating on it. Scrum butt, scrum butt, scrum butt, and scrum butt is perfectly fine and okay. All right? All right. So let's take it further. Let's take it further than that. What about it being kind of like psychic, right? Let's just say a team commits to 40 story points, insisting that this time is going to be different. They've done this in the past. But here's the deal. AI has been analyzing the team's velocity, the historical velocity, right? And looks at the complexity of the proposed story based on this analysis of the code, not just story points. Do you understand the statement? I'm not talking about story points here. It takes a look at the code and analyzes the code. And then it factors in things like the holidays, the PTO. It can't factor in emergencies, right? So it can't do that. Um, and it just gives you a forecast. It just gives you a forecast. Like it says, based on the last three sprints, there's a 75% probability that this team can only complete 32 story points for this commitment. And due to the complexity of the work that's being proposed, that percentage really goes down to a 50% probability that they can complete 32 points. Would you really commit to 40 points at that point? Like, would you? Because it's just math at that point. It really is, right? Um, this puts the team in a position where they can have a really, really honest conversation with themselves, right? And then create a more realistic plan about what they really can do and what they can't do. Now, for me, I'm going to say the only reason why I really care about this is because I don't want the team to feel demoralized because I don't think of it as a failure. I think teams learn from that. But the question is this team learning from that? So I don't want them to be demoralized more than anything else. And as long as you have a culture of learning, I think this is less of a problem. But hey, we all don't have cultures where we all can just learn, 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 learn. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna talk about an example of the last one, and then I'm going to kind of open the floor for anybody that has questions. So if you had questions about anything, this would be the time to have that conversation. So get yourself prepared to drop your questions in the comments. I'm monitoring LinkedIn, I'm monitoring YouTube, so just make sure you actually do that, so and then I can actually take care of you if you have a question. You know, if we don't then I'll give you your time back and then we'll keep moving. And we'll meet back up in a couple weeks. Now, here's the deal. What about burnout? What about burnout? You know, let's just say a production bug, a more critical bug, defect is what I'm saying when I say a bug, right? Is discovered like mid-sprint, like literally mid-sprint, right? And the team throws it to the lead developer. It's just what they do, right? They volunteer for this all the time. It's just a pattern that the team loves. And they just jump in at lead developer and they just fix things, right? They just fix things. They just fix things, right? Um, but AI could actually look at their workload and see if she is already spread too thin. I've had leads that think they can do 40 hours of code and then mentor everybody for 20, 30 hours, right? And they reasonably gonna be able to get back to their families at dinner time to have meal every night. That right there is just it is what it is, right? Um, so here's the deal, right? AI could see that that person is already spread across a lot of work. They already have three or four really complex stories. it probably can take a look at the code repository, right? Especially when it comes to bugs, and provide a recommendation for someone other than the developer, than the lead developer. Let's just say it was not so complicated and they gave it to a junior level developer, maybe a mid-level developer. Um, but it identifies that it's somebody that's worked on that module before, and they would be a better person to tackle it. Maybe it gives you a second person after that, right? It gives you two or three people that it could recommend. You know, this right here helps to deal with the hero thing. Um, because it's kind of preventing a lead developer from being overloaded and them to have to go always go do heroics and then messing up their family life and everything else like that. So the mid-level developer, junior developer, gives them a good opportunity to step up, right? To do something that can help the entire team become more resilient, right? Um, I think I'll leave that at that. So for me, when I really just sit back and I think about all the benefits that AI has for teams, it doesn't panic me. I know for some people out here, it becomes a panic for them. This is very exciting for me, right? It's very exciting for me because I know that we're going to be able to do some really amazing things and solve some really hard problems in the future. And we're going to say to ourselves, we never thought we could solve it that way, right? Because used right, AI can free up time for more of that down in the dirt exploratory work that's really the most interesting thing to most developers. That right there for me is a huge benefit, is just big pluses. And I can see us actually having a lot of success relative to that. Now, I've talked way more than I should have. I think I've talked for over 30 minutes at this point. I want to leave room since we got about 20 minutes left, 20 plus minutes left. Does anyone have questions? Any questions? Yeah, but I got about Scrum, team effectiveness, agile, resilience, team coaching, right? Those kind of things. Any questions about any of that stuff at this point in time? If you do have a question, you are welcome to drop it in the chat, right? However, I will also provide this option. If you are just interested and you want to go ahead and just come through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a link, right? Well, if you want to get on live with me, you're welcome to join live with me and we can have a conversation. Now, I'm gonna drop that link both on LinkedIn and I am gonna drop that link also in the comments on YouTube. Okay. Now, this link is only active during the show. That's it. It's only active during the show. So if you have a question, you want to go ahead and join us live on the show so we can actually have a conversation, that would be an amazing thing. Otherwise, you are welcome to drop your actual question in the comments, and I will look in the comments and do the best that I can do to answer it. If your question is really complex, it's best for you to jump on the show if you want to have an exchange and talk through the situation through that exchange. So I dropped it in both locations. So if you want to actually join and ask a question, please, please, please go ahead and join me live on the show or drop that in the comments. I'm just over here having a blast, you know what I'm saying? Today actually with that CSM class, I've been recording videos. Um, Record several videos today. I'll be recording all week before I take some time to take a break. But yeah, I'm over here, figuring out what I'm gonna say in these videos and all that great stuff. So, it is the season is coming, let's say it that way. Oh man. So yeah, other than that, man, it's just really, really amazing. It's really good. So I'm looking, I don't see anybody with any questions, but like I said, I'll be here. So give me a shout out say hello as you usually do. I think some people may be staying around. Some people may have left. I completely understand. I'm just checking some stuff before I actually um, got to make a move. So before I do anything else, I got to check this out, and then I can go from there. Oh, yeah, cool. All right. So that being said, one more time, any questions? Anybody with any questions? Okay. I'm looking at both environments. Hey man, like I said, I come here to probably give some knowledge and then to get any questions that you may have. So definitely, you got questions, I'm good. If you don't, I'm good too. We can give you some of your time back. I think we've had a good conversation. What do you think about which one of those, out of those things that I talked about tonight? What was your favorite? What do you think? What resonated with you the most? Drop that in the comments for me, right? What resonated with you the most, right? Um, yeah, it just, I just think we're just in that kind of world. I'm actually about to use AI to do some amazing things for me. I'm just determining what I'm going to work on first. Yeah. So other than that, I'm actually I dove into reading my comic books more. Like I wake up in the morning, read a comic book, and then I go ahead and do my work for the day. It's a good start for me, especially after I hit the gym. Read a nice little comic and then, go ahead and jump into my work. So yeah, so always get me started just kind of right. So man, it's just good. Okay, y'all. Well, I think I don't see any comments. I think we have exhausted what we needed to talk about for today. I'm not going to hold you here. I'll give you your time back for sure. And if you got any thoughts or any questions, a couple weeks from now we'll be back here. I guess I'll put it up. Now since I got some ideas about what I want to talk about, I'll go ahead and throw up, these things a little bit sooner so you can put them on your calendar. This was just I've been so busy with that dissertation, I didn't have time to put anything up. So now I'll schedule some things out so I can make sure it's properly planned. So other than that, I'm gonna say this has been an amazing time, y'all. Make sure you enjoy the rest of your week, right? And I will see you literally on the next one. Y'all have a good one. I'll just catch up with you soon, 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 soon. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.